Welcome back, everyone. Today we will be discussing the Jordan 1 Silver Toe. Specifically, we will be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions at the end of the video. The Jordan 1 Silver Toe releases on February 12th in Europe and February 19th in the US. Retail will be $170 for women's, $80 for preschool, and $60 for toddler pairs. Stock between all sizes combined worldwide is over 110,000 pairs, which is around what we normally see for most general release Jordan 1. So it still won't be a breeze to cop, but you certainly will have a much better chance of copying these in comparison to some of the extremely hyped dunks that we've been seeing recently. Regarding resale, we will cover that towards the end of the video, as always, for all sizes. But with the release info out of the way, let's jump into how to cop these Jordan 1 Silver Toes. Specifically for this how to cop, we'll be going in chronological order as usual, along with exactly how to efficiently manage your time and set up for this drop with maximum efficiency, since a lot is going to be going on at the same time. Prior to discussing the first come first serve online drops though, make sure to follow my Twitter KeithAdam10 and Personal For You for any urgent updates on these, such as the exclusive access that we already saw for these in the US last week and just this morning for Europe, or even for some of the other recent urgent updates, such as the exclusive access for the trophy rooms at 12 p.m. Eastern Time today that I did warn you guys about in my prior video. So in terms of that, also feel free to subscribe and enable post notifications just so you always don't miss out on this kind of stuff. And also, please ensure that you do not forget to sign up for the Flex app reservations when they do open up closer to the drop. This is one of the best ways to get pairs, as well as asking your local foot stores about their procedure for the leftover pairs. Now, moving on to the online first come first serve sites, we'll start with the US sites in chronological order, then we'll be doing the Europe sites afterwards. Keep in mind that the US sites are for the 19th, while the EU sites are for the 12th. Kicking it off with 8 a.m. Eastern Time, as usual, we should be seeing undefeated drop at this time. Before this time, make sure you are signed into your undefeated account, as it is required for checkouts here. Be ready to solve a checkpoint captcha as well. If you don't have access to a Shopify monitor, you can try refreshing the search page for AJ1 High, but your chances of copying, of course, will be very slim since it is Shopify. Now, moving on to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, this is where the actual fun begins, of course. Since there is a lot to focus on, I'm going to be guiding you guys and suggesting how to efficiently manage your time as usual. First, I would suggest going for Hibbit at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, since Hibbit will sell out rather quickly. For the link, just go to the launches page and click on coming soon to find it. And of course, I will also tweet out the full site list on my Twitter, KeithAdam10 and Personals For You anyway. My biggest advice when going for Hibbit is to use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. You could also choose to try for Nordstrom. The early link will be on the same link as the prior women's Jordan 1s. The only issue here is, even though it's very possible to cop manually, it's because they always do oversell. This eventually leads to about 90+% orders of being canceled, so it's up to you if you want to try here and take your chances. While sure, you might very well get an order confirmation, and that's a great flex, of course, unfortunately the vast majority of the pairs don't end up shipping, so it's up to you what you want to choose. I'm just trying to give you guys the info so you do have options. So as an alternative to those two, you can also choose one or two Shopify sites to focus on at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, since those will also sell out the quickest. If I had to choose two for you guys, I would suggest Jimmy Jazz and DTLR, since they do get pretty high stock and they do have a checkpoint as well. This is only if they do confirm that they are going to be dropping on Instagram the night before. DTLR already does have them on their calendar, so they should be definitely dropping. Not 100% on Jimmy Jazz as of now, but most likely they will be. Shop Nice Kicks and Shoe Palace both do usually get good stock too. At least Shop Nice Kicks for this time, because Shoe Palace actually didn't load yet, but hopefully will soon. The bad thing about these two sites, unfortunately, and this is why I don't recommend them over the other two, is the fact that shipping is unfortunately $30. So this might not matter for those of you who don't have tax in your state, but for those of you who do have tax in your state, this is certainly worth keeping in mind, because of course that's going to be something that does play a big factor in your margin. If you're in a group that does send Kith early link, you could also choose to go for them, since that will be giving you a slight advantage. Be ready for a potential H captcha question on the pop-up as well, if you guys do choose to go for Kith as your 10 a.m. Eastern Time site. And also, Concepts should be most likely dropping, although they probably won't confirm it. They probably will anyway. It's a gamble if you do choose to focus on Concepts, because there is that possibility that they might not end up dropping. Hence, I would suggest focusing on these other sites instead, just to maximize your chances of copying. Anyway, right after those drops are over, whatever one you decide to focus on at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, or even while you're in a Shopify queue waiting, I want you guys to enter in as many sneakers accounts into the drop as possible until around 10:03 a.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be your #1 chance by far for copying these. Now, what's the most efficient way to cop off of Nike sneakers manually? Well, these are currently loaded as a Leo drop. Leo drops essentially look very similar to a first come first serve, but they're actually just a 2 to 3 minute draw in disguise. Leo stands for let everyone order. I actually just recently made a full video which I'd highly suggest watching, where I go in depth because there's much more to it. But anyway, if you guys do need to make more accounts, remember, as usual, as I always do mention in my videos, Nike does require SMS verification, and you can't use the same phone number twice, so you will have to ask a friend of yours to use their phone number and ask them for the verification code. However, if you rather not bother your friends, or you just want a significant amount of pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts in general, feel free to check out my site TARS. The link is in the description below for pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts. Now, after sneakers, it'll be around 10:04 to 10:05 a.m. Eastern Time. At this point, you'll want to shift your focus to foot sites. So we're following the usual pattern here, as you can see, and periodically checking Finish Line, JD Sports, and Snipes to see if you have past queue. Make sure to set up the tabs for these sites beforehand. You should set them up as soon as you see my account or personals for you tweet out the links. This way, they're already ready to go when you are waiting in that queue or after sneakers. The key to copying on foot sites, which is Foot Locker, Kids Foot Locker, Foot Action, Eastbay, and Champs, is persistency, not exactly speed. And for this drop specifically, no need to worry about Eastbay and no need to worry about Kids Foot Locker for this specific drop. I've seen people cop manually on foot sites as late as 45 minutes into the drop. You really just can't give up. You have to keep on clicking the add to cart over and over again until it finally does cart. They're really terrible sites, and I'll be honest, it's not very likely that you're going to be able to cop off of foot sites, especially as of recently. It's been getting worse and worse for manual users here. But since there is really nothing else to try at that time, might as well give it a shot, of course. As for Finish Line, JD Sports, and Snipes, as you're trying to add to cart on foot sites, just periodically keep checking your tabs that you've created to see if you have eventually passed queue on any of them. When you do pass queue, it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Just try to add to cart and check out. Snipes didn't load yet, so they might not actually drop, but I'll of course have the final site list prepared for you guys on Twitter. But anyway, that will conclude it for the US sites. Now moving on to the Europe sites, and remember that Europe will be on the 12th, so pretty soon. Although many Europe retailers are going to be doing raffles, it is still extremely likely that both Soulbox and Slam Jam will be dropping at random times. However, Soulbox recently has been doing 9 a.m. CET. If you have access to a Soulbox monitor, you might have a decent chance of copying manually on there, at least as of recently. For the past year or so, manual has been great for Soulbox. If not, I would suggest following more sneakers on Twitter. They do tweet out relatively quickly, or even just being ready at 9 a.m. CET on the site. I would also suggest making accounts beforehand and of course being signed into them. Then of course the best drop for Europe would be Nike sneakers at 9 a.m. CET. It is currently loaded as a Leo drop for reference. Zalando will also be dropping at 9 a.m. CET, but some regions occasionally do go live slightly earlier than that, so just be sure to keep an eye on your group's monitor if you do have access to one, of course. Foot Locker will also be dropping. Try to use multiple Chrome users to pass queue here. Foot Locker will probably be the worst drop as usual. Just leave tabs on it, and if you get through, you get through, but 99.99% of the time, you're probably not getting through. Then Offspring may also potentially drop, although not confirmed. For Offspring, I would suggest enabling post notifications for their Instagram if you don't have access to a monitor. That will be it for the how to cop portion of the guide. Now with the how to cop out of the way, let's move on to the resale predictions. A lot of people are slightly skeptical of this release because some sizes are already 250, even though the US drop is a full 9 days away, and it's usually not this low at that point. However, you must not forget that the primary contributor to why these are going for lower than usual at this point in time, this early, is due to the exclusive access that already occurred in the US last week and Europe just this morning. This means that there are many more pairs in circulation already, so the stock is just getting priced in early, that's all. So I essentially just want to reassure you here that these should be a good comp. The demand on these is very high and stock is not abnormally high. There is no reason that the women's sizes should not perform well. I would expect them to be profitable with a very good margin too in all women's sizes. Since this is a women's Jordan 1, the best sizes specifically are always sizes 10 and above. The bigger the better for women's sizes, but I still would suggest going for all of those sizes. When it comes to the toddler and preschool pairs, on the other hand though, I would not suggest going for these with resale intentions. I would only suggest these for personal wear, but obviously not for yourself, maybe for your child of course. I'll also likely make a hold or sell video on these, so be sure to stick around for that, but overall in conclusion, this is a drop to look forward to. Don't be skeptical. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy or perhaps learn a thing or two. Also subscribe and enable post notifications just to stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts. Last but not least, make sure to follow KeithAdam10 and Personals for You on Twitter, just so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and good luck on this release.